I stared at the product page on the computer screen, the price a five-figure number, my finger hovering hesitantly over the mouse. As an ordinary office worker whose monthly salary barely covered basic living expenses, this purchase was a huge sum for me. The product image showed a woman of stunning beauty, a wasp waist, shapely hips, long legs, a coolly beautiful face tinged with arrogance, and violet eyes that seemed capable of piercing the screen and seeing right into one's soul. Most striking were the pair of small demonic horns on her head and the tail behind her, tipped with a heart shape. Female succubus, model LY01, mature stage, personality, aloof but obedient. The product description read, "Special note. This individual is extremely capable and can provide the master with the ultimate life experience." My gaze lingered on the word capable for a long time. As a corporate drone overwhelmed by work, whose home looked like it had been hit by a tornado, this word struck a chord deep within me. This is the one. I gritted my teeth and clicked the purchase button. Just as the payment successful notification popped up, a message from customer service appeared. "Dear, are you there?" asked the customer service representative from Succubus Specialty Store. My heart tightened, fearing there was a problem with the transaction. "What's wrong?" "It's like this. The LY07 you just purchased, while visually stunning, had a rather aloof personality. Also, being in her mature stage, her stamina is quite excessive. If you find this unacceptable, we suggest a refund, and we can recommend a more docile model for you." I breathed a sigh of relief. So that was the reason. Excessive stamina? Isn't that even better? The backlog of chores at my place is enough to exhaust 3 cleaning ladies. No need to change. This cool, aloof, and capable type is exactly what I need. I quickly replied. Customer service sent a meaningful emoji. "Okay, dear. Wishing you and your succubus a happy life together." 3 days later, the doorbell rang. I jogged to open the door, then froze on the spot. The woman standing outside was even more beautiful than in the product photos. She was about 175 centimeters tall, wearing a well-tailored black dress that accentuated her snow-white skin. Her violet eyes swept coolly over me, making me unconsciously hold my breath. Most striking were the small demonic horns on her head and the gently swaying tail behind her. The tip of the tail was a pink heart shape, currently trembling slightly. "Master," she spoke, her voice as cool and clear as spring water, yet possessing an inexplicably alluring huskiness. I snapped back to reality, hurriedly waving my hands. Don't call me master. Just call me Sonya." "Right, do you have a name?" "Luya," she answered curtly, then did something unexpected. She offered her heart-tipped tail to me. "As per regulations, you need to hold my tail to confirm receipt." "Oh, okay." I carefully took hold of the tail, which looked incredibly soft. The touch was indeed as wondrous as imagined. Warm, smooth, with a slight elasticity, like the finest silk wrapped around some living core. Out of curiosity, I gave it a gentle squeeze. And then, Luya suddenly let out a soft moan, her body trembling slightly. Startled, I immediately let go. "Sorry, did I hurt you?" Luya's eyes seemed to darken slightly, and a strange purring sound emanated from her throat, like a contented feline. She took a deep breath before replying, "It wasn't pain. I just wasn't prepared." "That's good then." I sighed in relief, assuming she was just nervous. "Don't worry, rest up for a bit first. There's a lot of physical work to do later." Luya's eyes widened slightly. "If you'd like, we can start now." "Now?" I checked my watch. It was 3 in the afternoon. "All right, I suppose. The sooner we start, the sooner we finish." "Okay." Luya's voice suddenly deepened, the purring in her throat becoming more distinct. I led her into the apartment, feeling the heat radiating from her palm. Once in the kitchen, Luya's expression visibly froze. "And the kitchen?" she asked hesitantly. "Yes. Is there a problem?" I asked back, puzzled. "Or would you prefer to start tidying the bedroom?" Luya's pupils constricted sharply, her tail stiffening ramrod straight. "The kitchen will do." I nodded, turned, and took a new cloth from the drawer, pressing it into her hand. "Then I'll have you start with the dishes today. If you can't do that, mopping, sweeping, or laundry are also options. You decide." Luya stared down at the cloth in her hand. For the first time, A distinct series of expressions flickered across her coolly beautiful face, from shock to confusion, finally settling into an indescribably complex look. Wait, her voice trembled slightly. You bought me to do chores. I nodded matter-of-factly. Yes, of course. Why else? Instantly, the purring in Luya's throat ceased abruptly. I really had bought Luya to do housework. The idea came from a casual chat in the company break room. My colleague, Shaolin, mentioned he had a succubus. Every day, he came home to hot meals, a spotless house, and even his underwear was freshly laundered and fragrant. And most importantly, Shaolin added, lowering his voice conspiratorially, every night is unbelievably fun. The other colleagues chuckled suggestively, but my focus went completely off track. Succubi were actually amazing at housework. As a busy office drone, the apartment I rented was already a complete mess. Takeout boxes piled high, dirty clothes overflowed the sofa, and the floor dust was thick enough to write in. Hiring a cleaner was too expensive, and I lacked the energy to tidy up myself. A capable succubus seemed like the perfect solution. That's why I spent all my savings to acquire Luya. Watching the tall figure in the kitchen awkwardly scrubbing dishes, I smiled with satisfaction. Her movements were clumsy, but her attitude was earnest. Worth the high price, indeed. Hold the plate like this. Yes, that's right, I instructed from the side. Don't use too much detergent. Hey, not cold water. Hot water cleans better. Luya's movements paused. Her violet eyes glanced sideways at me, a look that inexplicably reminded me of an offended cat. But ultimately, she obediently turned up the water temperature. The first day of chores ended with 2 broken plates. But to my surprise, when I woke up the next morning, the entire apartment was sparkling clean. The floor shone, clothes were neatly hung in the closet, and even the kitchen grease had been scrubbed away completely. You did all this? I stared, wide-eyed, at Luya, who was sitting on the sofa. She nodded, her tail swaying gently. I consulted the digital edition of the home cleaning guide. I was so moved I almost cried. This money was so well spent. In the following days, Luya quickly adapted to her role as a housekeeping succubus. When I woke up, the duvet was already folded. When I went to wash up, my towel and toothbrush were ready. And when I came home from work, a piping hot dinner awaited me. Most considerately, she would even warm my bed beforehand with her body heat. Lying in the faintly fragrant bedding, I sighed contentedly. Luya, you're truly wonderful. It is my duty, she replied softly, standing by the bed. But the purring sound started in her throat again. That sound had almost become the background noise of our life together. At first, I thought this was the succubus's way of showing nervousness, but a month went by, and Luya still made this sound from time to time, especially when she was near me. What was even stranger was her behavior. Every night after I got into bed, she would curl up on the rug beside the bed, staring at me without blinking, her tail sweeping back and forth on the floor. She emanated an indescribable air of plaintiveness. Late one night, I was startled awake by an unusual noise. Opening my eyes, I saw Luya curled up painfully, her skin flushed an unnatural red, her forehead burning hot. Luya, do you have a fever? I scrambled up and reached out to touch her forehead. It was scorching hot. She weakly shook her head. I'm not sick. It's just... Before she could finish, she began to tremble violently, the rumbling sound in her throat becoming rapid and loud. I made an instant decision. You're sleeping in the bed tonight. Luya's eyes shot wide open. I can. Sleep in the bed. Of course. I lifted the covers. Sleep in the bed from now on. The floor is too cold. Luya hesitated for a moment, then climbed onto the bed, clutching her pillow. She carefully lay down on the far side of the bed, her body held rigidly straight, as if afraid of touching me. Even while ill, she was still stunningly beautiful. Moonlight filtered through the gap in the curtains, spilling onto her face and outlining her perfect features. Her violet eyes gleamed faintly in the darkness, like 2 precious gems. How are you feeling? I asked softly. Much better, she replied, but her voice was incredibly hoarse, and the rumbling sound showed no sign of stopping. My heart aching for her, I stroked her hair. Don't make breakfast tomorrow. I'll go out and buy something. Food from outside isn't hygienic, she immediately protested. I can. That's an order. I deliberately put on a stern face. Patients need to rest properly. Luya nodded reluctantly, but her eyes remained fixed on my lips. That look made my heart inexplicably speed up and my mouth went dry. On some strange impulse, I leaned over and gave her a light kiss on the forehead. Good night, Luya. Her body instantly went rigid, her eyelashes trembling violently, and the sound from her throat suddenly jumped an octave. Just as she seemed about to reach out and hug me, I quickly pulled back and thoughtfully tucked the corner of the blanket around her. Don't move around, get some proper sleep. I instructed like a mother hen. Luya. She closed her eyes, her expression like a cat that had been fed a lemon. After that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. While Luya was busy in the kitchen, I secretly contacted after-sales customer service. Me, there seems to be something wrong with my succubus. CS, we recommend you consult the electronic document first. Apologies, I forgot to send it to you. Me, that's not the issue. I think Luya is sick, seriously ill. CS, please describe the symptoms. Me, she's always making a rumbling sound, her body temperature is very high, and she often looks at me with aggrieved eyes. CS, that's quite normal. It means she likes you very much. I breathed a sigh of relief. Me, really? I thought she got sick from being overworked with chores. CS, chores? You make the succubus do chores? I was confused. Me, is that wrong? Didn't the product description say she was capable? Customer service was silent for a long time. CS, no wonder she's acting strangely. Sir/ma'am, she's not sick. She's just hungry. Me, hungry? But she eats on time every day. Customer service sent a facepalm emoji. CS, not that kind of hungry. She's craving intimate contact with you. A succubus is not a domestic assistant, but a partner who helps humans satisfy their needs. Your succubus is in a state of extreme craving, but you completely missed it. I stared at the screen, my mind blank. Quickly opening the newly received electronic document, the first page boldly stated, Succubi feed on human emotions and intimate contact. I stiffly turned my head and realized Luya was already standing at the bedroom door, gazing at me with those resentful eyes. Even more astonishing, her eyes had completely transformed into heart shapes, and her tail was restlessly brushing against the corner of my blanket. Master, I feel unwell. My face instantly burned. I recalled her saying something similar before and had given her 3 cups of hot water. Do you want to? I stammered. Come under my blanket. Luya's eyes lit up. Yes. She practically dove into my bed in an instant, incidentally, removing her top. Under the moonlight, her figure was fully exposed. Her slender waist, graceful curves, skin glowing like pearls in the pale light. She buried her face in the crook of my neck, inhaling deeply, the purring in her throat growing louder. That sound, paired with her scorching breath, made my heart pound like thunder. Luya, I'm sorry, I whispered. I didn't know succubi needed that. It's fine, she murmured. I like taking care of you. Gathering my courage, I gently stroked her hair. Then, what can I do for you? Luya lifted her head, her heart-shaped eyes locking onto mine. Can I kiss you? My face burned even hotter. Isn't that too fast? Her gaze dimmed instantly. It's okay. I understand. Seeing her dejected expression, my heart softened. No, I mean, you can kiss me. Thank you, master. Her eyes brightened again. Unexpectedly, she didn't immediately kiss my lips. Instead, she lightly pecked my chin first, then cautiously licked it with the tip of her tongue, as if savoring a delicacy. This intimacy left me weak all over. When I unconsciously raised my hand, my fingers accidentally brushed against her lips. She immediately took my fingertip in her mouth, sucking gently, all while staring at me with eyes so heated they could melt me. Luya, I tugged lightly on her tail. Stop teasing. You can kiss me a little longer. The consequences of indulging a succubus became painfully obvious the next day. My lips were badly swollen, and my tongue bore tiny wounds. Luya held an ice pack, gently pressing it against my lips, her eyes filled with unmistakable guilt. Does it hurt? She asked softly, her violet eyes brimming with concern. It's fine. I shook my head, then winced slightly as the movement tugged at the sore spots. Her tail instinctively coiled around my wrist. I'm sorry. I lost control a little. Seeing her so remorseful, I couldn't help but smile. Who would have thought that the usually composed and reserved succubus could be so passionate in moments of intimacy? Out of habit, I pinched the tip of her tail, a small gesture that had become our little secret. Luya, do succubi only need intimate contact when they're hungry? I asked curiously. She nodded slightly. Yes, it's part of our physiology. A sudden, important question occurred to me. Then, did you ever have this kind of contact with your previous master? Her expression turned serious instantly. I've never had another master. Only you. I was slightly surprised. Really? With your qualities, no one ever bought you before? She shook her head, her gaze slightly hazy. Succubi have a class hierarchy. Low-ranking succubi can only wait to be bought and kept by humans, while high-ranking ones can live freely in human society, even accumulating wealth and status. I looked her up and down. You're so exceptional. How could you be low-ranking? I don't believe there's a succubus more outstanding than you. Her eyes flickered for a moment. Don't remember very well. The shop owner said when he found me. I had no identification, so I could only be sold as merchandise. Her voice trailed off. I seem to have lost a lot of memories. My heart suddenly clenched. Miserable images of Luya's suffering misfortune, ending up destitute on the streets, flashed through my mind. I couldn't help but hug her. It's okay, I'm here now. We'll always be together. I'll take good care of you. Her body stiffened at first, then slowly relaxed, hugging me back. Okay. That night, I leaned against Luya, reading the electronic document. One entry, specially noted in bold font, read, Succubi recognize only one master in their lifetime, are extremely loyal, and must never be abandoned casually. I looked up at Luya, finding her intently watching the financial news, her tail unconsciously wrapping gently around my waist. Under the light, the profile of her face was so perfect it didn't seem real. What are you watching? I gently poked her waist. She snapped back to reality, looking down at me. Nothing, I just felt that CEO's decision wasn't very wise. I raised an eyebrow in surprise. You understand business too? Maybe. Instinct. Her tone held uncertainty. I suddenly remembered something and picked up my phone. Just then, a news notification popped up at the top of the screen. Lu Corporation head missing for half a month. Reward reaches 9 figures. I swiped it away casually and continued reading the electronic document. Compared to news about unattainable wealthy people, I was more concerned about how to make my succubus comfortable and happy. The next morning, I stood lingering by the door, reluctant to leave. Going to work used to be just routine, but now it felt like a difficult challenge. The thought of being separated from Luya for 8 hours left an empty feeling inside me. Luya, it's not very safe outside lately. Don't wander around. I nagged like a worried elder. Someone is striking as you could easily attract bad people. She nodded in agreement. Okay. Wait for me to come back before going grocery shopping. Okay. Luya agreed calmly on the surface, but that purring sound continued deep in her throat. As she reached out to straighten my collar, her gaze fell on my lips, her eyes so hot they could almost melt me. Having thoroughly read the document, I immediately understood. Hungry again? She admitted frankly. My cheeks flushed hot. Then, a kiss or a hug? Can I have both? Her voice was low and husky. This direct request made my heart race. Of course, you don't need to ask my permission for things like this in the future. As soon as the words left my mouth, she gently pushed me against the door. One hand cupped the back of my head, the other wrapped around my waist, and she leaned down to kiss me. This kiss was much gentler than last night's, yet just as dizzying and enchanting. Only when I was about to be late did I reluctantly push her away. We'll continue tonight. I have to go to work. Her eyes were astonishingly bright. I'll wait for you. My work efficiency was pitifully low that entire day. My mind was filled with images of Luya, the cool touch of her fingertips as she straightened my collar, her trembling eyelashes when we kissed, and that heart-tip tail that was always wrapped around me. As soon as work ended, I rushed home. Passing the entrance to the residential complex, I noticed several expensive luxury cars parked there. Whose family is so extravagant? I muttered to myself, not thinking much of it as I dashed into the apartment building. Pushing open the door to my home, I found only darkness. Luya, I turned on the light. The apartment was empty. My heart sank. Luya never went out without telling me. Could something have happened? I was just about to call the police when the door was suddenly pushed open. Luya stood in the doorway, clearly startled when she saw me. You're back. Where did you go? I practically rushed over and grabbed her hand. Didn't we agree you wouldn't just run off? I went to buy groceries, she replied, but her eyes darted nervously. Only then did I notice her empty hands. Where are the groceries? Luya clearly froze. I forgot them. I'll go back again. No need. I held her back. There's still food in the fridge. She nodded and walked straight to the kitchen. I'll cook then. I stood in the living room, feeling that something wasn't right. Luya always kept her word, never breaking a promise. And her expression, just now, it was like she was hiding something. During dinner, I couldn't help but ask, Luya, has something happened to you recently? Her hand paused as she cut her steak. Why do you ask? You've been so absent-minded lately. I observe her expression, and you haven't been home waiting for me for 3 days straight. She put down her knife and fork, silent for a moment. I found my family. Really? My eyes widened in pleasant surprise. That's wonderful. Do you need me to go with you to meet them? No need, she shook her head. I can handle it myself. It's just, she hesitated, I might need to leave for a few days. My heart sank again, and my fork clattered onto the plate. Do you have to go? I struggled to keep my voice from trembling. She looked up at me, her violet eyes filled with complex emotions. I have to confirm some things, but I promise I'll come back. That night, we lay in bed, neither of us sleepy. Luya lay with her back to me, her tail twitching restlessly. I stared at her back, my chest feeling heavy as if crushed by a stone. Luya, I suddenly said, turn around. She obediently turned to face me. In the moonlight, her face was unrealistically beautiful. Before you go, I gathered my courage. You have to serve me well for one night. Her eyes instantly lit up. Are you sure? Positive. I deliberately put on a stern face. Otherwise, I won't let you go. She let out a low chuckle, rolled over, and pinned me down. As you command, master. The first day after Luya left, my apartment was terrifyingly quiet. No scent of breakfast, no familiar purring, no tail that always used to wrap around me. I went through the motions of washing up and going to work mechanically, like my soul had been sucked out. Coming home from work to the empty apartment, I finally couldn't hold back my tears and cried. Hugging Luya's pillow, which still held her unique scent, like pine trees in winter, cool yet reassuring. Liar, I buried my face in the pillow. You promised you'd come back. The next day, I forced myself to pull it together and go to work. As soon as I entered the office, I heard my colleagues excitedly discussing something. Did you hear? They found the missing CEO of the Lu Corporation. The glamorous powerhouse woman? I heard she's a high-level succubus. What was her name again? Luya. My blood ran cold. Luya? Impossible. It must be someone with the same name. Is there a photo? I asked, trembling. A colleague handed me their phone. They're all over the internet. On the screen, a woman in a designer suit was being interviewed. Her violet eyes, perfect face, and that innate air of nobility. Without a doubt, it was my Luya. She is the CEO of the Lu Group. My voice seemed to come from far away. Yes, rumor has it she was plotted against and lost her memory. Now she's recovered. My colleague gossiped. She's been really formidable lately. She dealt harshly with those who harmed her. My vision went black. My legs grew weak. My succubus? No, Luya wasn't some low-level succubus at all, but a business elite at the pinnacle of society. And I had unbelievably made her wash dishes, mop the floor, wash my underwear. What was even more terrifying was that reports described her methods as ruthless, and those who offended her met miserable ends. Thinking about everything I had done to her, a chill shot straight from the soles of my feet to the crown of my head. After work, I immediately contacted my landlord to terminate the lease. While Luya hadn't yet remembered me, her master, I had to disappear quickly. While packing my luggage, I found a silk scarf Luya had left behind. Driven by some inexplicable impulse, I stuffed it into my bag. This was probably the only memento left between us. By the third week in my new apartment, My life had gradually settled into a new routine. 7 a.m. The alarm clock rang precisely on time. Eyes closed, I fumbled to turn it off, then sat dazed on the bed for 5 minutes, waiting for my brain to boot up. The bathroom faucet leaked slightly. Its dripping sound became my morning accompaniment. The hum of the microwave heating milk replaced the clatter of spatulas that used to fill the kitchen. This kind of life was peaceful to the point of boredom, but it was also safe. At least I didn't have to worry about coming home one day to find a succubus CEO at my door, ready to settle scores. I ordered another succubus online, choosing a different type this time, succubus, gentle domestic type. Late one night, I was curled up on the sofa watching a variety show rerun. Suddenly, the doorbell rang shrilly. "Who is it?" I asked warily, peering out through the peephole. A tall, slender figure stood in the dim light of the hallway, a black trench coat outlining a familiar silhouette. My breath caught. The succubus you ordered. That voice, the one that haunted my thoughts, cut through the door panel straight to my heart. Trembling, I unlocked the door, only to meet a pair of violet eyes, deeper and more mesmerizing than I remembered. Luya, no, I should call her CO Lu now, was standing right in my doorway. Beneath the impeccably tailored black trench coat, she wore a black dress. Every inch of fabric screamed expensive. In her left hand, she carried a handbag, but her right arm cradled, almost comically, a shipping box labeled Succubus Emporium. "You." My throat felt raw. "How did you find this place?" She took a step forward, high heels clicking sharply on the wooden floor. "Song Yu, you dared to abandon me?" I stumbled back until my calves hit the coffee table. Luya casually closed the door behind her, placing the shipping box on the entryway cabinet with the grace of someone signing a $1 million contract. I didn't. My tongue felt tied in knots. "I thought you would. Get revenge on you?" She raised an eyebrow, the corner of her mouth lifting in a dangerous curve. "So, you even quit your job?" My eyes widened. "How did you know I resigned?" Luya pulled a phone from her trench coat pocket, swiped the screen open, and handed it to me. It displayed the HR system interface of my former company, my resignation information clearly visible. "You hacked into my company's system?" My voice jumped an octave. "More accurately, I acquired a 51% stake in your former company," she said nonchalantly, tapping a finger lightly on the shipping box. "Now, care to explain what this is?" I stared at the words succubus, general home type, on the box. Cold sweat beaded on my forehead. I just bought a helper." "Helper?" Luya's voice suddenly dropped, dangerous and low. She unbuttoned her trench coat, closing in step by step. "Song Yu, haven't I told you? A succubus recognizes only one master for life." My back hit the wall, with nowhere left to retreat. "But you're CEO Lu now." "To you, I'm always just Luya." She reached out, planting a hand on the wall beside my ear, her violet eyes swirling with the familiar desire I knew. The succubus who would wash your underwear, cook your meals, and warm your bed. Her breath fanned across my face, carrying a faint scent of mint. Only then did I notice that familiar purring sound emanating from deep in her throat again. "You're hungry again?" I asked softly. Luya's eyes darkened. 3 whole weeks and 4 days. The next second, my feet suddenly left the ground. Succubi are stronger than humans. Luya easily swept me up into her arms bridal style and strode toward the bedroom. "Wait," I struggled, hitting her shoulder. "We need to talk." "Talk about what?" She tossed me onto the mattress, looming over me. "Talk about how you left without a word? Talk about how you thought I would hurt you? Or talk about how you dared to order another succubus?" With each sentence, she undid a button on her skirt. When the last button came undone, my sanity snapped along with it. Underneath the skirt was that familiar black silk garment, the one that used to be covered in dish soap foam. "You kept it?" I asked in surprise. Luya knelt on the mattress with one knee, her long fingers caressing my cheek. "I keep every memory of you, Sonia, whether as the CEO of Lu Corporation or as your succubus." Her kiss descended, more fervent than before, more impossible to resist. The buttons on my pajamas surrendered one by one under her fingertips. As the cool air touched my skin, I realized with a start just how much I had longed for this intimacy. "Wait," I asked breathlessly between kisses, "that delivery box, was it really a succubus?" Luya chuckled lowly, her fingers giving my waist a light, punishing pinch. Open it and see. Wrapping the bedsheet around myself, I ran to the entryway. Trembling, I tore open the box. Inside, neatly arranged, were all my favorite snacks and a note. Dear customer, the succubus you ordered has been claimed by the original owner. Please accept this complimentary snack pack as compensation. You posed as customer service. I looked towards the bedroom, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Luya leaned against the doorframe, as languid as a well-fed cat. To be precise, I acquired that online store. She tilted her head. Now, will my master please return to bed? I still have a lot of work to report. As the morning sun filtered through the newly changed curtains, I was snuggled in Luya's arms. Luya's breath warmed the back of my neck, her tail unconsciously wrapped around my calf. Good morning, master. Her husky voice was thick with morning languor. I turned to face her, unable to resist reaching out to stroke her exquisite face. Don't call me that anymore. You're CEO Lu now. To you, I'm always just Luya. She caught my fingers, kissing them lightly. But since you mentioned it, Luya suddenly rolled out of bed, took a document from her briefcase, and handed it to me. For you. I opened it, confused. Then my eyes widened. It was a share transfer agreement. 10% of Lu Corporation shares. How much is this worth? My voice trembled. Enough to buy the entire succubus specialty store and convert it into a housekeeping company. She spoke lightly, then suddenly knelt on one knee, taking a velvet box from her pocket. And this, she continued, is what I truly want to give you. The box opened, revealing a uniquely designed ring, a silver band entwined with a small tail, the tip of which was a heart-shaped diamond. Songyu, will you be my legal and only master? She looked up at me, her violet eyes brimming with a vulnerability and anticipation I had never seen before. My tears instantly broke free. But I'm just an ordinary person. You are anything but ordinary. Luya stood up, gently wiping away my tears. You're the only human who would dare to make a succubus CEO worth hundreds of billions do chores with a 9.99 rag. I smiled through my tears and held out my hand. I should be the one saying that. Let me put it on you. I solemnly slid the ring onto her ring finger. 3 months later, our wedding made headlines in all the major media outlets. That night, our wedding night. Master, call me Master too. She whispered in my ear, her tail skillfully wrapping around my waist. And Master, I complied, blushing. She smiled in satisfaction, a familiar purr rumbling deep in her throat. It seems whether she's a high-level succubus or a business queen, some instincts never change. But that's just perfect. In a main text, Luya's perspective, extra chapter. Songyu's apartment was pitifully small. I stood at the doorway, impassively surveying the space that was about to become my temporary abode. Clothes were piled like a small mountain on the sofa. 3 instant noodle bowls sat on the coffee table. And the floor? Sorry, the place is a bit messy. He scratched his head, the tips of his ears turning red. Work has been too busy lately. Sorry to trouble you. I nodded slightly, but a strange feeling stirred within me. As the CEO of Lu Group, albeit currently with amnesia, I should have scorned such a disorganized environment. But looking at Songyu, I actually found him. Cute? Songyu, according to procedure, you need to hold my tail to confirm receipt. I proactively offer my tail, an action that surprised even myself. He carefully held the tip of my tail, as if handling something fragile. When his fingertips inadvertently brushed against my tailbone, an electric current shot up my spine, straight to my brain. I bit my lower lip, yet a soft sound still escaped me. Startled, Songyu immediately let go. Sorry, did I hurt you? I took a deep breath. It wasn't pain, just a more complex feeling. My body remembered this touch, as if, after a long wait, it had finally found its destined master. It wasn't pain. I just wasn't ready, I explained in a low voice. He breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Don't worry, rest up first. There's plenty of physical labor to do later. Physical labor? I blinked in confusion, until he led me into the kitchen and thrust a rag into my hand. I'll have to trouble you to wash the dishes first today. I looked down at the rag in my hand, my mind completely blank. This human want me to do housework. The first week, I broke 6 plates, burned 3 pots of soup, and dyed his white shirt pink. Every time I messed up, Song Yu would sigh and then patiently teach me step by step. His palms were warm and dry, and whenever they touched my skin, they would invariably trigger a series of purrs. "Luya, is your throat bothering you?" he asked with concern. A normal physiological reaction for a succubus. I lied straight-faced. In truth, this sound only occurs during states of extreme contentment or desire. And Song Yu's very presence put me in a superposition of both states. At night, I curled up on the carpet beside his bed, gazing at his sleeping face by the moonlight. He frowned slightly in his sleep, as if battling something even in his dreams. I couldn't resist reaching out, but pulled back just before touching him. Too dangerous. This inexplicable affection would hinder my plan to recover my memories. I forced myself to look away and studied his bookshelf instead. It was filled with economics, management, and programming textbooks. In the most prominent spot was a book titled How to Make Employees Willingly Work Overtime. So, just a junior manager. I thought contemptuously, but froze when I opened the flyleaf and saw his densely packed notes. The business acumen revealed in those annotations rivaled even some executives I remembered. This discovery irritated me further. Song, you shouldn't be trapped in this small apartment and that exploitative company. He deserved better, and I should have been able to give him better. My memories returned suddenly on a rainy night. At that moment, I was ironing Song Yu's shirt, and the television was broadcasting news about the Lu Corporation. The moment the spokeswoman appeared, a flood of images rushed into my mind. The boardroom, the merger case, the poisoned cup of coffee. The iron slipped from my hand, searing a black hole into the shirt. I stared at the hole, suddenly realizing a terrifying truth. I wasn't just Luya, but also the controller of the Lu Corporation, a succubus known in the business world for her ruthlessness. And Song Yu was just an accidental, temporary master. "Luya?" Song Yu emerged from the bedroom, rubbing his eyes. "Why aren't you asleep yet?" "Oh my God, my shirt." He picked up the ruined shirt, but instead of nagging as usual, he looked at me with concern. "You look pale. Are you feeling unwell?" I opened my mouth, but ended up just shaking my head. How could I tell him that the one he'd taken in wasn't a stray succubus, but a business magnate capable of buying the entire city at any moment? Song Yu suddenly reached out and touched my forehead. "So hot. Do you have a fever?" It wasn't a fever. It was the surge of magic caused by my returning memories. Every cell in my body was screaming for solace, and the only one who could soothe me was this unsuspecting human before me. "You sleep on the bed tonight," he commanded, leaving no room for refusal. When I lay beside him, the magical turbulence miraculously calmed. He had a special scent about him, like sun-dried cotton quilts, deeply reassuring. "Good night, Luya." He placed a kiss on my forehead, light as a butterfly's wing. That simple gesture shattered all my defenses. In the haze before falling asleep, I dazedly thought, maybe being Song Yu's succubus wouldn't be so bad. After regaining my memories, I began secretly investigating the attack. Every day, while Song Yu was at work, I would slip out to meet my old subordinates. When they saw me, they looked like they'd seen a ghost. "CEO Lu, we thought you were dead." "Almost," I sneered. "Now, tell me what happened these past 3 months." The situation was worse than I had imagined. Someone on the board had colluded with competitors, not only planning the assassination, but also trying to carve up my assets. The most ridiculous part was they had fabricated an excuse about me recuperating overseas, when in reality, they had already prepared my funeral. "Should we call a press conference immediately?" my assistant asked cautiously. I shook my head. "Gather evidence first." After a pause, I added, "Look into someone. Song Yu, department manager at Tianshan Company." My assistant was highly efficient. 10 minutes later, the information was sent to my tablet. I stared at the screen, a tightness in my chest. Song Yu's salary was pitifully low, yet he shouldered the workload of 3 people. His supervisor had written on his evaluation form, "Too agreeable, suitable for taking the blame." The tablet cracked in my hand. "CEO Lu, prepare 2 contracts," I said coldly. "One is an agreement to acquire the company Song Yu works for, the other, an employment contract, salary at 3 times the market rate." My assistant's eyes widened. You want to poach him? No, I smiled. I want his boss to personally deliver him to my office. Revenge went smoother than expected. The sight of those traitors kneeling and begging for mercy was utterly dull. What truly made my heart race was the moment I returned to Song Yu's apartment each evening. He would chop vegetables while rambling about trivial work matters, and I would lean against the kitchen doorframe, greedily watching his every move. When he turned his head to smile at me, I could never quite hide the purr in my throat. "Luya, you seem very happy lately," he suddenly asked one day during dinner. I wiped the corner of my mouth with a napkin. "Do I?" "Your tail is wagging," he pointed out, "like a puppy." I immediately pressed my tail down onto the chair, the tips of my ears burning. The dignified CEO of Lu Corporation being compared to a dog, but seeing Song Yu's mischievous smile, I couldn't bring myself to be angry. These days were too dangerous. With every day we spent together, the thought of leaving him became harder to imagine. But the truth couldn't be hidden forever. "Luya, you've been absent-minded lately." Song Yu asked with concern. "Has something happened?" I put down my knife and fork. I might have. Found my family." His eyes instantly lit up. "Really? That's wonderful." Seeing his genuine joy, my heart felt torn in two. He had no idea what my so-called family meant. "I need to leave for a few days," I managed to say. Song Yu's smile froze on his face, his chopsticks falling onto the plate with a harsh clatter. In that moment, I almost took back my decision. But I couldn't. I had to resolve all potential threats first to ensure his safety. "I promise I'll come back." I squeezed his hand. It was the greatest promise I could offer. Regaining control of Lu Corporation only took 3 days. On the morning of the 4th day, I stood in the walk-in closet, adjusting myself in the mirror. The succubus in the mirror wore a bespoke suit, her hair swept up impeccably, the violet eyes devoid of their former confusion. "CEO Lu, the car is ready," the assistant said from outside the door. I took one last look at the tablet. On the surveillance feed, Song Yu was packing luggage in his new apartment. When he took out the silk scarf I had left behind from the drawer, my tail uncontrollably wrapped around the table leg. "Let's go somewhere first," I told the assistant, "the succubus specialty store." Acquiring that shady store only took 10 minutes. The owner nearly fainted when she recognized me. While I smiled and handed her an employment contract, "Congratulations, you are now my employee." I sneered at Song Yu's order for a succubus, personally packed a box of snacks, and attached a note. Then I instructed the assistant, "Look up Song Yu's new address." Standing before that unfamiliar door, I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. "The succubus you ordered," I said in the most business-like tone possible. The door opened a crack, Song Yu's terrified face appearing behind it. For the first time in 3 months, I saw fear in his eyes. The realization sent a sharp pang through my heart. When he tremblingly asked, "How did you find this place?" I almost abandoned all my plans and knelt down to beg his forgiveness right then and there. But no, I had to make him understand that whether as a succubus or a CEO, I would always be his Luya. So I placed the delivery box in the entryway, advanced on him step by step, until he had nowhere to retreat. "Song Yu, you dare abandon me?" I deliberately asked in a dangerous tone, simultaneously secretly releasing my tail to wrap around his wrist. He looked like he was about to cry. "I thought you would retaliate against me." Retaliate? I couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. I really was angry. Angry that you wouldn't even give me a chance to explain. Angry that you'd rather buy a new succubus than come find me. But what made me angriest was I cupped his face. That you made me live like a walking corpse for these 21 days and 7 hours. His tears finally fell, splashing onto the back of my hand, startlingly hot. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not good enough for you." Silly. I wiped away his tears. "I'm the one who's not good enough for you. The you who worries about me, teaches me how to cook, and doesn't even get angry when I break a plate. That's the most precious thing in the world. Song Yu, will you be my legal and only master?" End of extra.